Hey everybody, this is your boy I love dogs, and it's time to review Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs. Wes Anderson is an American film director, screenwriter, producer, and actor. This guy has a very distinct visual style, making him one of the more unique directors working today. I'll be honest with you and let you know that I have not seen a whole lot of his earlier work like Rushmore, The Royal Tenenbaums, or Life in the Aquatic with Steve Zissou or something. I have seen some of his newer stuff like Grand Budapest Hotel, which was great, Moonrise Kingdom, which was also great, and Fantastic Mr. Fox, his other stop-motion film, which was fantastic. But I do feel like just from watching one of his films, it can give you a pretty good idea of what he likes to do as a filmmaker, since a lot of his films often tend to have a lot of the same qualities, like super symmetrical framing, top-down shots, a very vibrant color palette, really precise blocking and movement. And a lot of these same qualities show up in Isle of Dogs, which is a beautifully made film with a simple and yet fun story that really comes alive thanks to its rich environments, characters, and world building. Isle of Dogs follows a group of stranded dogs on an island of trash where they've been exiled to by the Japanese government and Mayor Kobayashi for fear of disease. After a boy named Atari crash lands on this trash island in his little jet plane, he sets out on a journey with these stranded dogs to find his dog Spots, who was exiled there some time ago, and a bunch of crazy stuff happens. One thing that was very apparent to me while watching Isle of Dogs is that the stop-motion animation in this film is significantly better than it is in Fantastic Mr. Fox. That could largely have to do with the technology now versus 10 years ago, but this film just looks a lot more lively, rich, and unique. Some of that definitely has to do with Wes Anderson's experience, as he's been able to develop and improve his craft over time. You can really notice a lot of the effort that was put into this film. Each set is just so meticulously crafted. There are locations that are only on screen for like 2 or 3 seconds, and yet a painstaking amount of detail and work is put into every single one, as if they were going to film in these locations for long periods of time. A good example of this could be the city of Megasaki that we see earlier in the film very briefly. There's lights coming from all these various windows, with a plane flying above and a train moving through the frame in between these buildings, and then we even have human puppets riding their bike on this little boardwalk type thing. This is just the type of film where you can examine all the little subtleties and elements that go into it forever. The lighting was done very well. Everything looks pretty diffused and softly lit, which I think is a big part of the reason why these sets look so pleasing. All of the puppets look very different and unique from one another. I loved how the individual hairs and bristles in each dog's face will move ever so subtly and slightly, given the sense that there's air in this world, which is something that's not easy to do with these stop-motion animation films. All of it was done by hand too. None of these puppets look like they came directly off of a conveyor belt and were just put into the film. They all have a human touch and quality to them. One thing that I've come to like about Wes Anderson a lot is that he knows how to make his films funny through both dialogue and visuals, which he does quite a bit with this film in the earlier parts. Love the deadpan delivery. It feels very appropriate when it's matched together with the typical on-the-nose Wes Anderson dialogue. Very interesting choice to not show any subtitles for the characters speaking in Japanese. I kind of wish they had subtitles so I could fucking understand what they were saying if there was a funny joke that was being said or something serious. But what's interesting is that you're still kind of able to extrapolate what these characters are saying just based on how they're saying it. Also, just as a quick note, for all the people and PC police out there bitching about how this film sucks just because it culturally appropriates Japanese culture, just fuck right off. Please, no one cares about you. But getting back on track, I think the overall story is pretty decent, especially during the parts when Atari and Chief are together. The story is pretty simple at the end of the day, so there's really not a whole lot to get into. What I like the most about it is that it's a very clear metaphor of how a government power uses fear-mongering and propaganda to turn people against a certain group of people, or in this case, dogs, as a way to marginalize them. Which is a pretty timely message when considering the current immigration crisis that's going on in the United States. We have an administration that seems to be against immigration for really no logical reason. And because the film is treated with a light Wes Anderson touch, it never feels too preachy, which I liked a lot. I have 2 problems with this film, the first being that it does feel a little slow during certain parts. The story is not that complex, and yet this film takes a long time to tell it. I think it's very apparent that this film loses steam after its first act, and I think that's because a lot of its comedic elements kind of wear off by then. The other issue I had with this film, and really just Wes Anderson's style in general, is the way he tends to incorporate a lot of characters. Sometimes in order to add new characters into the film and properly develop them, he'll often abandon other characters and never really come them back to them like they didn't really mean anything in the first place. It kind of felt like Rex, Boss, King, and Duke, which are the first dogs that we see in this film, kind of just become these background characters. This is something that won't bother everyone, but this film had kind of chalked these dogs up as protagonists along with Chief and Atari, and then they're just kind of put to the side. Still, I think what this film lacks in story is definitely made up for in its beautiful production design and aesthetics. This is one of the best stop-motion animation films I've seen in a long time, and I hope Wes Anderson does more of them. I'm going to give Isle of Dogs a 4 out of 5. Thanks for watching this review, guys. You were so kind. Leave a comment with your thoughts on Isle of Dogs in the comment section below, and leave a recommendation on a film that I should watch and review next while you're down there. Be sure to check out the other content on my channel if you like what you see. Hit the like button if you like this video, or share this video, or both, whichever you prefer. I don't care. I do care, actually. You should share this video because you love me. And if you dig the channel, then subscribe to the channel, please. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. This is your boy Jay, all day, every day, signing off until next time. Yeah. See you later.